These are your latest news updates. In a major political surprise, Democrats scored a significant upset in Texas, flipping a long-held Republican state Senate seat in a special election. The district had been comfortably won by Republicans in recent national races, including by Donald Trump. Party leaders say the result signals voter frustration and shifting political dynamics ahead of the 2026 midterm elections, while Republicans are calling the outcome a warning sign. Father and son, released from immigration detention. In a key legal ruling, a federal judge ordered the release of a 5-year-old boy and his father from an immigration detention center in Texas. The family, originally detained during a federal enforcement operation, has since been returned to Minnesota. The judge sharply criticized the government's handling of the case, saying the detention was excessive and raised serious humanitarian concerns. Nationwide protests over immigration enforcement. Across the United States, large-scale protests and coordinated work stoppages have erupted in response to aggressive federal immigration operations. Demonstrators in cities including Minneapolis, Portland, New York, and Los Angeles are calling for reduced ICE activity and greater accountability following fatal encounters involving federal agents. The protests reflect growing bipartisan concern over enforcement tactics and due process. In Portland, Oregon, city officials have gone further, with the mayor publicly demanding that federal immigration agents leave the city, citing the use of crowd control measures against protesters and families gathered near detention facilities. Gaza crossing reopens in limited capacity. Internationally, the Rafah crossing between Gaza and Egypt has partially reopened under a pilot program, allowing limited movement for patients and select travelers. Aid groups say many people remain stranded due to strict criteria and limited daily approvals, warning that humanitarian needs in Gaza remain severe despite the reopening. U.S.-Iran tensions and diplomacy. President Donald Trump confirmed that the United States is in direct communication with Iran, even as U.S. military assets remain positioned in the Middle East. The administration says talks are aimed at preventing escalation, following the European Union's recent decision to label Iran's Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps a terrorist organization, a move that has further strained relations. From nationwide protests and court rulings in the U.S., to unexpected political shifts in Texas and humanitarian developments in Gaza, today's headlines reflect mounting pressure on governments to balance security, civil liberties, and humanitarian responsibility with major implications as events continue to unfold. U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement has halted all movement at a Texas detention facility after confirmed measles infections were detected. Transfers and court transport have been suspended as health officials monitor detainees. Advocacy groups are raising concerns about overcrowding and the risk of further spread. In Washington, a Republican senator is backing legislation that would require federal immigration officers to wear body cameras during enforcement operations. The proposal follows multiple high-profile incidents involving federal agents and has drawn rare bipartisan interest, though privacy and cost concerns remain unresolved. The Trump administration is facing legal challenges over a sweeping visa freeze affecting immigrants from approximately 75 countries. Lawsuits argue the policy oversteps executive authority and harms families, students, and workers, while the administration defends the move as a national security measure. Texas political shockwaves continue after Democrats flipped a deeply Republican state Senate seat, prompting GOP leaders to reassess campaign strategy ahead of the 2026 midterms. National parties are now pouring resources into similar districts. Congressional funding talks remain tense, with lawmakers racing to avoid a partial government shutdown as immigration enforcement and DHS funding remain major sticking points. Internationally, Mexico's president has pledged to continue sending humanitarian and energy aid to Cuba, despite U.S. efforts to restrict the island's access to oil. The move underscores growing diplomatic tension and highlights differing approaches to Cuba's ongoing economic and energy crisis. French cybercrime prosecutors raided the Paris offices of X, the social media network owned by Elon Musk, as part of an expanding investigation into alleged algorithm abuse, fraudulent data extraction, and harmful content distribution. The probe, which began in 2025, also includes allegations related to deepfake images, sexually explicit AI-generated content, and Holocaust denial material involving X and its Grok chatbot. Both Elon Musk and former CEO Linda Yaccarino have been summoned to testify in April 2026 as authorities work to enforce compliance with French law. From public health concerns in U.S. detention centers to immigration enforcement reforms, legal battles over visas, and rising diplomatic friction in the Americas, today's headlines reflect mounting pressure on governments at home and abroad. In federal court, Ryan Routh, who was previously convicted of attempting to assassinate Donald Trump, is expected to be sentenced later today. Prosecutors have argued the case underscores ongoing threats to public officials, while security concerns remain heightened around political figures. In a separate and deeply disturbing case, the ex-husband of First Lady Jill Biden has been formally accused in the killing of his wife. Authorities say the investigation is ongoing and no trial date has yet been announced. Officials emphasize that the charges remain allegations until proven in court. Veteran U.S. Senator Mitch McConnell has been hospitalized for flu-like symptoms. His office says he is receiving medical care and is expected to recover, with doctors expressing a positive prognosis. No changes to Senate leadership or legislative scheduling have been announced. Authorities are investigating a reported ransom note connected to the disappearance of Nancy Guthrie, the mother of Today Show anchor Savannah Guthrie. Nancy Guthrie has been missing since last weekend, and law enforcement has not confirmed whether the note is authentic or linked to the case. Savannah Guthrie has canceled plans to attend the 2026 Winter Olympics to remain with her family as the search continues. Police say the investigation remains active and fluid. Donald Trump is again drawing controversy after reportedly urging Republicans to consider nationalizing U.S. elections. Legal experts and constitutional scholars warn that such proposals would face significant constitutional barriers, raising fresh debates about federal authority, states' rights, and the future of American democracy. Meanwhile, Libya is facing renewed uncertainty after reports that Saif al-Islam Gaddafi, son of former leader Muammar Gaddafi, was shot and killed. Authorities say details remain unclear and investigations are ongoing. Saif al-Islam had long been a controversial political figure and a symbol of Libya's unresolved post-Gaddafi power struggles. Rising tensions in the Middle East after the U.S. military confirmed it shot down an Iranian drone that was flying toward a U.S. aircraft carrier. Defense officials say the drone was intercepted before it could pose a threat. Iran has not yet publicly responded, and the incident adds to growing regional tensions involving U.S. forces in the area. Israeli airstrikes in Gaza killed at least 19 Palestinians, including women and children. The strikes come despite an existing ceasefire framework, highlighting the fragility of efforts to de-escalate the conflict. Meanwhile, Palestinians crossing into Gaza through Rafah reported being blindfolded and interrogated by Israeli troops after the border partially reopened. Israeli officials say the measures are for security purposes, while human rights groups are calling for greater transparency and oversight. In Europe, Elon Musk is pushing back against a French police raid on X's Paris offices, calling it a political attack. French authorities say the investigation centers on algorithm practices and data handling concerns, part of growing international scrutiny of major social media platforms. Together, these stories reflect a day marked by global conflict, political instability, high-profile investigations, and shifting political dynamics at home and abroad. Tragedy struck in Arizona when a police helicopter responding to an active shooting incident in Flagstaff crashed, killing both the pilot and a paramedic on board. Authorities say the aircraft was assisting emergency crews when it went down, under circumstances that remain under investigation. Federal aviation officials and local law enforcement are examining weather conditions, mechanical factors, and flight data to determine the cause. The loss has prompted an outpouring of tributes from first responder organizations, highlighting the risks emergency personnel face during crisis response operations. In federal legal developments, a U.S. judge has placed new restrictions on Immigration and Customs Enforcement, commonly known as ICE, limiting the agency's ability to conduct certain warrantless arrests. The ruling stems from a lawsuit filed by immigration rights advocates who argued that some enforcement tactics violated constitutional protections. Supporters of the decision say it strengthens civil liberties and due process protections, while critics argue it may complicate enforcement efforts and public safety operations. Legal experts say the decision could influence immigration enforcement policies nationwide and potentially lead to further court challenges. Attention has also returned to the long-running investigation involving convicted sex offender Jeffrey Epstein after the release of previously unreleased interview footage involving Epstein and political strategist Steve Bannon. The interview has generated renewed public interest due to unusual and controversial remarks captured during the conversation. Analysts say the material could add to ongoing scrutiny surrounding Epstein's relationships, influence networks, and the broader questions that have surrounded his case since his death. Investigators and legal observers continue reviewing newly surfaced materials for potential relevance to unresolved aspects of the investigation. Online conversations surged after billionaire entrepreneur Elon Musk posted a cryptic message on his social media platform suggesting that money cannot buy happiness. The brief post, which included a somber tone, quickly went viral and triggered widespread speculation about Musk's personal outlook, leadership pressures, and the broader emotional toll associated with high-profile business roles. While Musk did not provide further explanation, analysts say his public statements often influence financial markets, public sentiment, and technology sector trends. At the same time, controversy is emerging in the entertainment and media industry after the film review platform Rotten Tomatoes responded to allegations that ratings connected to content involving Melania Trump may have been artificially boosted. The platform has stated it is reviewing the claims and reaffirmed its commitment to rating transparency. Media experts say the situation raises broader concerns about the reliability of online review systems and the growing influence of coordinated digital campaigns on public perception. Political tensions are also escalating in Texas following a viral dispute during a Democratic primary race. The controversy centers around a public comment describing a political candidate as mediocre, which quickly spread across social media and sparked debate about internal party divisions, racial representation, and leadership dynamics. Political analysts say the incident highlights growing ideological and demographic tensions within the party as candidates compete for influence ahead of future elections. Together, these stories reflect a complex landscape marked by technological influence, legal and constitutional debates, public safety risks, renewed scrutiny of high-profile investigations, evolving political divisions, and questions about digital credibility in modern media. A pardoned January 6 rioter has pleaded guilty to threatening Hakeem Jeffries, raising renewed concerns about political violence and the safety of public officials. Prosecutors say the plea highlights lingering security risks connected to political extremism. The White House has responded to growing backlash over a social media post that depicted Barack Obama and Michelle Obama as apes. Officials condemned the image as racist and offensive, emphasizing that such portrayals perpetuate harmful stereotypes. Civil rights leaders and lawmakers across parties have also denounced the post, calling for accountability and stronger action against hate speech online. The U.S. military has confirmed it killed 2 people during a strike on a vessel in the Eastern Pacific suspected of drug trafficking. Officials say the operation was conducted as part of ongoing counter-narcotics missions aimed at disrupting organized crime networks. While the military maintains the strike was lawful, human rights organizations have called for additional transparency regarding the circumstances of the operation. At a political event in Washington, Donald Trump publicly defended Kristi Noem, Tulsi Gabbard, and Pam Bondi during remarks at the National Prayer Breakfast. His comments came amid ongoing political scrutiny and were viewed by analysts as an effort to reinforce alliances and energize supporters. Donald Trump has reportedly offered to unfreeze federal funding for a major New York City tunnel project if a train station at Washington Dulles International Airport were renamed in his honor. Sources familiar with the discussion say the proposal has triggered political backlash, with critics arguing that public infrastructure funding should not be tied to personal recognition. Supporters, however, frame the idea as political bargaining. Internationally, authorities in Pakistan have confirmed the death toll from a suicide bombing at a mosque in Islamabad has risen to 31. Investigators say the attack targeted worshippers during prayers, drawing widespread condemnation and prompting renewed calls for stronger counter-terrorism measures. In Southeast Asia, investigators examining an abandoned scam compound in Cambodia say the site exposed evidence of large-scale fraud operations, forced labor, and abuse. Authorities believe the compound was part of a broader network responsible for online scams targeting victims worldwide. The discovery has underscored growing concerns about transnational cybercrime and human trafficking linked to fraud centers in the region. These stories reflect a global climate marked by political tension, security threats, and ongoing debates over accountability, power, and social responsibility.